As I outlined in my speech in Saudi Arabia 3 months ago, America and our partners are committed to stripping terrorists of their territory, cutting off their funding, and exposing the false allure of their evil ideology. Terrorists who slaughter innocent people will find no glory in this life or the next. They are nothing but thugs and criminals and predators and, that's right, losers. Working alongside our allies, we will break their will, dry up their recruitment, keep them from crossing our borders, and yes, we will defeat them, and we will defeat them handily. In Afghanistan and Pakistan, America's interests are clear. We must stop the resurgence of safe havens that enable terrorists to threaten America. And we must prevent nuclear weapons and materials from coming into the hands of terrorists and being used against us or anywhere in the world for that matter.
You're listening to The Devil's Advocate, where we talk about news and current events. I'm your host, Brandon Condict.
And I'm also your host, Mitchell Hernandez. Our goal at The Devil's Advocate is to provoke thought by introducing viewpoints and information that isn't readily available in the mainstream media.
It's in truth a conversation where an independent liberal, like myself,
and an independent conservative, like myself, can share different viewpoints without the typical disdain for one another we see all too often in politics. So with that, let's get started.
All right, welcome back to TDAP, episode 26. If you have been keeping up with us over the weekend when we normally shoot the live segments, you know that we did not this week. This is just a podcast week. You know that because Mitch posted a video last night explaining that our schedules obviously got a little bit tight this week. So yeah.
Yes.
Also, in your video, you said that this would probably be out on time, and I can tell you as editor-in-chief, it will not be out on time. By the time that any of you are listening to this, it is Wednesday or later. It will not be ready by Tuesday because, as you know, by following us at TDAP 2017 on Twitter and Facebook, it is actually Monday, August 28th right now. So
right. So direct all of your hate mail towards BSAC. Brandon the con man Condict.
Right.
With his
right, with my infamous sackiness. So anyway, you also know too that we're going to be taking a week off next week. For a multitude of reasons. We want to do a little bit of restructuring here with the show. We want to hopefully, let's cross our fingers, get a song pretty far along. All of that is in the update that's on Facebook. And also what's not on Facebook, which we will talk about on a later episode, is the fact that next week I will probably be spending some of the time setting up for the Fantasy Hockey League this year, which I'm sure will be talked about over the next 9 months.
I'm
especially
sure.
Since your
inside jokes are going to be just abounding everywhere.
And they probably won't even be inside jokes. As your reigning champion, I have a feeling that I will have some things to say. So, anyway, with that, this show is going to feel a bit more unconventional. If you were watching the news last week, you know, like we do, that nothing huge happened, nothing in Charleston big or nothing. Like, there were definitely some stories.
North Korea big,
right?
Or, you know.
And so basically,
nuclear holocaust was staved off,
right?
So.
Until this week, but
yeah.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that later. You know, but I think this will probably feel, this whole episode will probably feel more like a rest of the week type segment. So with that, I think that 2-minute explanation is good enough to start off with. And also, I think we've agreed that the majority of the show is going to be opinionated stuff because none of the stories were Charleston big.
And also we ourselves did not have the time as we said earlier, we were kind of logistically constrained this week.
Right.
And didn't have the time to really dedicate to the type of journalistic integrity we normally do,
Right.
where we go deep into the facts. We make sure that we've checked everything. So this is basically going to be us just going off of the top of our heads, saying this is our initial reactions and just having an actual candid conversation.
Right. So with that, let's get started with last Monday. Trump came out and had a rally, or not a rally, but I guess a speech about his Afghanistan policy.
Right.
And so, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so basically what he did, and people who are plugged into the political sphere and all of that, they know that this is not Donald Trump's stance against the war has been we shouldn't have gone there. We should have stayed out. We shouldn't have sent troops there. We should have already been finished with it and everything. That changes a little bit when you're commander-in-chief. And we see that the same thing with Barack Obama. So basically what Trump did was he came out and he said, we're not putting a timetable on this like previous administrations. We're going to stay until we don't need to stay anymore. And obviously there was a lot of people that were upset by this. There was a lot of people that were relieved that he's, in my opinion, doing the right thing, doing what we need to actually do. But again, there's people that were shouting hypocrisy, and they're not wrong. He did say all of those things.
His critics would say, though, that his critics would say that one of the issues that they had with so basically what he said was, we're going to stay for an indefinite amount of time with an indefinite amount of troops in the area. But we're expecting help from Pakistan, and who was the other one?
Pakistan and damn,
I
don't
can't
know.
remember either. It was two countries, but it was two countries.
Yeah, two countries that aren't normally in the conversation.
Right,
like you don't normally hear. I think it was India, Pakistan, and India.
But
because I think they're having some tips.
But basically,
like,
basically, what he did was he said, if we don't get cooperation from Pakistan, and these countries, then we're going to wash our hands of the whole situation, and then we'll be done with it. And to me, and to his critics, and this is the one piece that I do. It's not necessarily me being angry about it. It just, to me,
well, I'm angry as hell.
To me, the idea here is like, or the scenario here is, we know based on the last 20 years that we're probably going to lose this war. This is a way to lose this war without claiming a loss. And
I disagree.
If it ends if 5 years down the road, if we go, well, we didn't get Pakistan's cooperation and we pull out of the area, then, and we wash our hands of it and we say, well, it's Pakistan's fault, then is the meantime between now and then worth the end result?
Yeah, it depends on what we're willing to actually do. So if in the meantime we're not actually really doing anything and we are putting the most of the bulk on it, well, then probably so. But if the bulk of it is, let's send a bunch of troops there, let's put our lives on the line, and then for whatever reason Donald Trump gets pissed. And
you
again,
know what
he's
it was?
the commander-in-chief.
It was Afghanistan.
If he wants to do it.
It was Afghanistan and Pakistan. They wanted the cooperation.
Was it?
Yeah, they wanted the cooperation from the Taliban in Pakistan. And I think that's, sorry for interrupting, but I think that's an important note to that, because
You sure India's not in there somewhere? Because I could sworn that something's been going on with India.
I think that where India came into the conversation is that Pakistan and the United States have a weird relationship right now where it's like, we're friends, but we're kind of like, we try to keep our back turned to you, and we're just like, yeah, I know that guy, he lives on my block, but we're not like, we don't try to be buddy with Pakistan overly, and I think that because Pakistan and India are rivals, the message being sent and the statements being made about that relationship were that if Pakistan feels like the United States might start giving arms to India or might start doing deals with India, then that becomes a problem for Pakistan, because Pakistan is enemies of India. And so I think
Right.
that's where India came into the conversation. I don't think that there was any formal cooperation there. I believe that the story was that we wanted cooperation from the Pakistani government because we know that that area there between Pakistan and Afghanistan isn't guarded by anyone. And then they wanted the cooperation from the Taliban. And we know historically the Taliban says one thing and then does whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah, it seems to be the kind of the standard operating procedure for most countries and people.
Right. So, but the difference
We like
here,
to say
the
certain
difference
things.
here is they're harboring terrorists, and that's a
Right.
problem. So, to me though, that feels almost like it's like a house of cards that isn't. I don't see it holding its own weight. Like 5-10 years down the road, if we end up just backing out of this whole thing, then we were no different than we were when Barack Obama took us out. And
Well,
when we
I see the difference between there with Barack Obama is that he took the troops out, but he put in all of the military bombings and stuff, so the drone strikes. But that's not how you win the war. You can't just drop bombs from the sky and then expect, okay, I guess we've killed all the bad guys. You have to actually put boots on the ground and go in. And I think that's what, if this is what we're going to see, and again, Donald Trump is being vague about this, and this is something where he's not being hypocritical from back on the campaign trail, where he said, they're very stupid. They tell all of Hillary Clinton likes to tell people it takes us 6 minutes to get our nuclear codes in order and whatnot. Like, I don't want to do that. If I come up with a plan, I'm not going to let our enemies know our
right,
plan. And so that's
yes,
why he's being vague about
completely,
what this actually
is.
is.
Yeah, that's completely fair. But
it also leaves us in the dark going, well, what the fuck are we
right,
actually
and
doing?
the American public isn't used to that. We don't like being left in the dark.
No.
That's the whole freedom.
Not since Vietnam.
The freedom of
we got the fucking
information
TVs
idea that like we live by is this idea that like we want to know everything that is legal for me to know. I want to have access to that information. That's the age that we live in.
Right.
That's the idea.
Just get James Comey in there. He'll leak it all.
Right.
Get in
He's
there,
not
Comey.
leaking anything vital, though. What's funny is that I say that soundbite as if the audience has already heard it, but because I don't have the hardware that I need to put that in, I'm just going to keep saying what's already sitting in a file somewhere. And you're going to pretend.
I'll just keep saying he's not leaking anything
right,
vital.
you're going to pretend that you heard Mitch say it in episode 14.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I don't know. And on the flip side of that argument, I think that his plan or his speech went over well with most people. And I have talked with people that served in the military and whatnot and were in the Middle East, and everybody's experience is different, so just because I know a guy who says a thing doesn't mean that that's the consensus. But it seemed like, I mean, he said in much better words than I could, because I don't have the experience that he does, that this is really the only way to do it. If you're going to win, you have to go all in
or you're not going to win.
Or you're not going to win.
You have to occupy territory. It's like whenever two rival gangs fight, they fight for territory.
Right.
That's how these gangs ended up becoming ISIS. It got bigger and bigger. They fight for territory. If you just kind of shoot from out your window, and hope to God you hit someone on the other side, you're not really doing anything.
Right.
You got to put boots on the ground. You got to have a presence there. And whether or not we're claiming that as our own, I think that everyone is in agreement that we shouldn't. That's being everyone other than me.
Right.
But, I think that for whatever reason, they've decided, okay, we aren't going to set up shop. And so whatever. But at least you still have to put the troops on the ground and fight the enemy. You need to fight the enemy if you plan on winning.
Right.
So hopefully that's what we're doing. We have no fucking clue.
Yeah, we don't know. And again, that
we just know that there's going to be more troops. He did say there was going to be a troop increase. And, yeah, that's about all we know. And then there's no end date. So I think it's the right move if he's making the right moves. It's just really hard to know.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't have an opinion. Like, I don't really have a hard opinion on this one way or another, because I've been on both.
Can I trust the generals on that one?
Well, and I've been historically, I've been on both sides of this whole Afghanistan thing. Like, now, granted,
arm the rebels.
Well, no, that Syria. I'm speaking just Afghanistan. Like, if you go back to September 11th, right now, granted, I'm 29 years old today. I was young 15 years ago.
Yeah, but I remember me and you both be like, "Fuck George W.
Right.
Bush."
Yes. So
No war for oil.
I was on that side of the argument initially. I grew up a little bit and then became on the side of, well, now we're just wasting money. So let's, like, what we did there was unwinnable. Let's pull out. That was the consensus among most people at the time that Barack Obama did it. And
here's the thing you got to remember about the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, because the Iraq war's over.
Right.
I mean, we won that, and there were so many wars going on that we basically we went in to fight Saddam Hussein. We won that war. That was mission accomplished. That was finished, and they gave him a bunch of shit for it, but that was basically what we showed up to do. We were also fighting a war against the Taliban, which arguably they won, because their whole thing was just, we are going to attack you, and then we're going to hide out in caves, we're going to hide out in these spider holes and whatnot, and I can hear you messing with your mic shit.
Well, the mic
and we're gonna make
the mic couldn't actually hear that. You could just hear that through your headphones. Spoiler alert: we are not we're not in the same room this week. We're
doing it old school.
We are doing it old school. And why? The reason that you heard me, I was so glad. As soon as you were like, the thing about Iraq is, I like jumped. Okay, so my door behind me kind of like creaked open a little bit, right? And I could hear white noise coming from the AC and whatnot. And I have a 6-month-old son, so I never know when somebody's going to just start crying in the background. So the whole time we were having that conversation, I was like, man, I really wish that door was shut. Like, I really wish Stacy would walk by and grab that door.
Is that you making your mad dash over
yeah,
there?
so as soon as you were like, the thing about this, I was like, oh my God, this is my opportunity. He's going to talk.
Exposition, run.
So, but what's great about the whole thing is I'm pretty sure, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the audience didn't hear any of that until the explanation. So, anyway.
Layers upon layers, bro.
Continue.
So we won the war in Iraq. Fighting against the Taliban and everything was a bit harder because they just wanted us to leave, which arguably they won. They just kind of hung out in caves and killed us when they could, and then we left with Barack Obama. And so they basically won that war. And then there was the civil war going on between the whole area. So that not just Iraq, not just Afghanistan, but in Syria and all of the other countries around this area, the Arab Spring, that were going through their own civil wars, which weren't directly tied to us, but we saw how even if it's not directly between us, if we step out, someone else steps in. And it's the same thing with Afghanistan. I think that whenever Barack Obama came out, and I remember he came out and he said he was like surrounded by Humvees, and he came out with the worst, most ridiculous swagger I'd ever seen a president give ever. Like, he was actively swaying from side to side. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But he came out and he said, we're leaving. Yeah, like that was the only one that I've seen more exaggerated. Like, if anyone has a chance to go back and look up that address, he looks ridiculous when he's doing it. But so that always sticks out in my mind. But he came out and he said, hey, we're leaving Iraq. We're done. However, we need to stay in Afghanistan for, I think he said, like 3 years or something like that. And I remember when he said it at the time, I said, I believe him. I really don't think he wants to be here. He ran off no war. I think that now that he's commander-in-chief, if we didn't need to be there, we would be pulling out.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing with Trump. It's really easy when you're not in charge of the armies. And I know he's not, like, there's generals and whatnot, but he still is the commander-in-chief. He holds sway.
Right.
Like, it's different to run and be like,
swag.
war's bad, and then see it and go, oh, fuck, we're the world superpower. And if we're not involved actively doing good in the world, this is just primed for bad to step in.
Right.
And I think we do kind of have an obligation to see it through and to finish it and to do it with actual vigor, to do what's right. And I think that right now we lack that, at least as a country, because we've seen war for so long and it's been fruitless and it's been half-assed. But if you actually set yourself to the task, I think we could accomplish a lot in that area.
I think we could
need to do it.
But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, because I think, to me, it's a nice rosy thought, but
I don't think it's more than a rosy
It's
thought.
mo-
I think it's an obligation at this
Okay,
point.
yes,
Like,
no,
we came in and
no,
broke that shit.
I get it. I believe you, and I agree with you. Here's the problem. I think it takes longer than 8 years, and Donald Trump doesn't get longer than 8 years, no matter what. And we don't know what the future holds. If somebody else comes in and it's just if Bernie Sanders or someone like Bernie Sanders was the next person in line, first of all, as a vendetta for Donald Trump reversing every accomplishment that Barack Obama considered an accomplishment, it's almost been erased completely now. And so you would think the Democrats are probably salty about that. So I would think
Democrats are
I
salty about
would
everything.
think that the first thing that the next Democrat to come to power would do would be get rid of everything anything that you can stamp Trump on in Washington. I would think that's going away.
Well, I mean, shit, you see how liberals right now are trying to purge anything that just doesn't go with their narrative anyway. They're going to be trying to purge the fuck out of Donald Trump's legacy as soon as it happens, soon as they get the chance
I think
to.
you still need to be careful because on a weekly basis, you generalize liberals, and they're not all.
I'm talking
they're
about
not
when I do
evil,
that, I'm talking
scary
about the
monsters.
leadership.
So
Yeah, what I'm talking about when I say
you gotta
liberals,
say Democrats.
in this context, in this context, I'm talking about the leadership. I'm talking
Congressional
about Congress.
Democrats. Yes, I agree with you.
Right. Yeah.
I would say some congressional Republicans too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, let's slide on into another Donald Trump related story, and I'll let you kind of take the reins on this one a little bit. But the night after the Afghanistan policy, there was like a weird ass rally in Arizona, Phoenix, and like the story there was that the mayor had been saying for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, like don't come here because we don't want problems, and
no problem, man.
right. And it was weird, right? Like it was weird. First of all, he was coming right off the comments from Charlottesville, so it like felt like he didn't know how to kind of go up there and deliver it.
Wow. What a crowd. What happened in Charlottesville strikes at the core of America. And tonight, this entire arena stands united in forceful condemnation of the thugs who perpetrate hatred and violence. But the very dishonest media, those people right up there with all the cameras, we're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is me speaking. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. That's me speaking. And violence on many sides. On many sides. Right after the event. But all the network, CNN is really bad. And they fired Jeffrey Lord. Poor Jeffrey. Jeffrey Lord. I guess he was getting a little bit fed up, and he was probably fighting back a little too hard. And yes, by the way, they are trying to take away our history and our heritage. You see that. Fox has treated me fairly. Fox treated me fairly. How good is Hannity? And he's a great guy, and he's an honest guy. And Fox and Friends in the morning is the best show, and it's the absolute most honest show.
It was normal, like a campaign rally would be back in the day 6 months ago. But he, like, it felt kind of awkward. Like he didn't know where to go at first. And then
I thought he was
angry.
Yeah,
and
I
then
watched
it felt
some
kind
of it.
Bullshitty.
Well, it's always bullshit. Anytime you go to these rallies, like I said, people have a big issue with him doing these rallies now that he's president.
What I have a bigger issue with when you talk, for a guy who talks about fake news,
right?
And like, okay, so have you seen pictures from inside the arena that was at? Like,
no,
there was like 28 people there, including the people on stage.
No,
like,
that's total bullshit. Both sides are doing this now, and it's frustrating that Like Donald Trump's supporters did the same thing where they were like, oh, all these counter protesters were supposed to show up. And guess what? Only 50 showed up. Totally false. There was thousands there. Now the liberals are doing the same thing. They're saying, oh, look, he didn't even fill anything. Donald Trump sells out those stadiums every time he does it because it's Donald Trump. In no way, shape, or form do I ever going to believe that 28 people were there.
That makes way more sense to me. But I'll have to find the article because I had it saved somewhere. I don't usually go to bullshitty sites, so you may absolutely be right.
Bullshit is on a brand new level, man. Like it's just it's everywhere.
That absolutely seems like a logical explanation for something like that. Because my rule of thumb on the internet is like, if it seems outrageous, it's probably bullshit.
Yeah. Well, that one guy, the conservative guy that I like a lot. Damn, I can't think of his name. Ben Shapiro. Like,
yeah, I don't like him.
I would think you would, since he's so tough on Trump constantly, and also his entire argument is just based off logic.
He's too cute, like like not cute in a like, oh, you're physically cute.
You want to date him? Don't lie.
I want to date him. No, you're right. That's what it is. I have a secret obsession with
money
Ben
grabber.
Yeah, I know. That was my goal. Like, I was gonna win Powerball last week, and then I was gonna fly straight to Ben Shapiro and be like, "Hey, what's up, man? You want some pasta or something?"
Right.
So anyway, no, I just don't like. What I mean by he's too cute is I feel like, at least from what I've seen, and maybe I've only seen a selective few posts of his on social media, but they seem very not as bad as Milo. But
not even close.
But they seem kind of like that whole like at least what I've seen a lot of what seemingly are gotcha moments, and I'm like, that's not, you didn't. That's not it.
Yeah, most
at
of the
all.
time I've seen when he does a gotcha moment, he usually does have them. Like, it is a gotcha moment, unless but again, the whole point of me bringing him up is that he's a source that I trust I trust a lot of what he puts out there. I agree with a lot of what he puts out there, not everything, because we disagree. I think he's harder on Trump than he should be. Not there's anything wrong with being hard on the president, but he was one of the people who also perpetuated that whole only 50 supporters showed up, and it was total bullshit. I mean, it was like saying Trump's crowds were the biggest for the inauguration. Like, we have photos, they're not. So bullshit's everywhere, even from trusted sources. So again, when you say that 28 people showed up to see Donald Trump speak, I do not believe it.
No, it wasn't. I completely exaggerated that. But what I saw, the picture that I saw looked like 400 or something, not what it seemed like on TV. So, and it also wasn't it didn't seem like it was in a big stadium either. It seemed like it was kind of like, it seemed like a smaller venue, not a gym, bigger than a gym, but I don't know. It just, from what I saw, which again was a picture of the crowd and the stage and then the people behind him on stage, it looked like a small set in a bigger place, but not stadium big.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It makes perfect sense why he does this shit, because the media is entirely against him. And like, we used to at the beginning of this whole thing, like when we were like, the media is trying to take him down during the election, whatnot, there was a conspiracy theory. No one thinks it's a conspiracy theory anymore. It's a proven fact. The media is against him. They are actively working to take him down.
The media totally, I detest that. The media wasn't trying to take him down.
They absolutely were.
The media was trying to use him for ratings. That's all they were doing. There's no Donald Trump
disagree.
without CNN. If CNN doesn't show every goddamn hour-long rally that he did for a year and a half, there is no Donald Trump, because the popularity, while it's still there, because, Apprentice, yay, and ties that no one can afford.
Just look at his debate performances. That's what really did it. I mean, the thing is I don't buy.
Right, but the base performance was turned on by the fact that they had so much access to him.
No, the debate performance, not the base.
Oh,
the fact that he was snarky, he was giving it to the politicians, and that's what people wanted to see. And so when they turned on the debates and saw that, like, even from the get-go, when Megyn Kelly stood up trying to take him down immediately. Or no, the first thing they did was try to make him sign a bullshit pledge that no one honored.
I know.
I mean, like, it just played right
God.
into it. Like, everyone had decided, everyone in a position of power was like, fuck this guy. And I don't buy that argument that, well, you know, he wouldn't have won if they didn't cover him all that time. It was like 90% negative. So if you're trying to slander someone really fucking hard, but you just can't do it, and so, oh, it's your fault that he won. No, man, they did everything they could to stop him. You know, it just didn't work. And a lot of that was because it became really transparent, and it was like...
It also, though, it would have been very, very easy to change the outcome of that by not having him on TV 16 hours of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely played a factor into it. I'm not going to say he won because of it, and I'm not going to say that the media helped him out. I'm not going to say that.
Well,
they did
no,
everything
you know
they
he
could.
didn't win because of it, dude. Putin, Uncle Putin's over there, like, oh, when that's those
Soviet
soundbites would
Russia,
come in so
President
so
hacks
handy. So I don't know. I mean, yes, it makes sense why he does it, but to me,
He's got to counteract the media, who is just
go be
know?
or just don't fight the media. Do your job like every other president has ever done. Ignore the media and go be a president without having to go.
Well, he is playing the media as well, so he knows that they're going to cover his speech. So they're going to, like, 90% of what they cover with him is negative. But for that hour and a half, he is going to be blasting his own message during every one of their networks, and it works.
Right.
And then people know that as soon as he's done, that they're just going to shit talk him, so they don't stick around for that part. You know, and they like it because it's ratings. So it makes perfect sense why he does it, because otherwise people wouldn't talk about jobs coming back. They wouldn't be talking about that because they're too busy talking about his tweets for 7 hours. And his tweets are dumb. Yeah. Don't do that. But at the same time, there's other shit to talk about.
I agree with you. So, all right. I'm crossing that one off the list. And
we're going to see more of that in the years to come, I'm sure.
I guess we'll change pace real quick, and we'll come back to Trump in a minute, because I think on our last Trump story, which I believe we've got another one, and then a few more
Trump
topics planned out.
For anyone who doesn't know, the VMAs played that song, and that's why I keep saying that. I've had it stuck in my head.
I'm sure that well, maybe not our listeners. I feel like our listeners are
a little
best
older
listeners ever. Yeah. Let's stroke all their egos real quick.
Yeah.
Hurricane Harvey. Let's talk about that for a second.
When I opened the door, more water rushed in, and all of my stuff flew out, and like it just kept coming in. All I could grab was my wallet and my phone. That's all I knew to grab.
Our town was destroyed, and it hurts.
I had to save a guy's life right here. He was hanging onto a telephone pole, and I got a rope. I heard him. He was out there for about 30 minutes.
You just see the water come up, making sure that all our family is safe. We just kept looking at the water, and it just kept getting higher and higher from 4 in the morning to 7 in the morning. We prayed a lot, and we just praised God, and we were rescued, so we're very thankful.
There's this sense of sadness that they have left behind, some of them, homes that they fear will not be there when they get back. But they realize they made a wise decision by putting their life first and protecting their life, knowing that they can always go back and rebuild.
Texas is flooding. Obviously, we saw all the crazy videos of 130-mile-an-hour winds, just devastating towns.
Yeah.
And
So I actually do quite a lot of business in that area. Texas is massive for us, for me and what I do. And my customers in Corpus Christi were terrified. I mean, I had some of these guys, they've got warehouses. They're not buildings, they're warehouses made of wood on the coast. and I felt so bad because they were just like, we're expecting to lose everything. And the economic damage that this is going to do. And luckily Trump, I think, has handled it really well. And
yes, he's getting a little. I agreed with you.
he did the same thing
And
during the campaign whenever Louisiana flooded, and then for some reason, like Barack Obama and Hillary just didn't go, and I thought he handled that well too.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Like, here's the test for Donald Trump. It's not about what he says or what he tweets or whatever. And I do think that I've seen some criticism of him on his handling, being like he's tweeting about the border wall during this, which I think you still have to be president. Like, I'm not saying that, he's got to obviously spend a good chunk of time on it, but the world doesn't stop. And that's no offense to anybody in Texas or that has anybody in Texas.
Right. Just there's an act of God going on. Like, we still have stuff
North
to do
Korea
too.
North Korea doesn't stop making bombs because of a hurricane anywhere in the world. So I don't think that he needs to be on it 24 hours a day. But I do think that the real test will come after tomorrow, which will be yesterday. If you're listening to this as soon as it's available on Wednesday on iTunes and Google Play.
That's right.
But I think the real test will be what happens after he visits, because it's one thing to tweet and it's one thing to make statements, and we know that every president does it. So I'm going to wait. I'm not going to criticize him. What I will say is that what comes after his visit, Barack Obama made statements too before he went to places. Every president does that.
He handled Hurricane Sandy very well. Yeah, and so did Chris Christie and those guys.
Right. This seems, though, like it's going to be bigger than Katrina.
Oh, it is. Economically.
Not in death toll or anything like that.
No,
but
we're only at like 5 right now. But
I mean, they're talking about years and years and years to recover.
Yeah, that's how long it takes. In Texas, it doesn't rain often, but when it rains, it pours. This is more than anything they've ever seen. Like, when they said that 24
5 to 5.5 feet.
Yeah, they said within like 70 hours, 2 feet had fallen, and they were still going to get more. I was like, that's really fucked up.
It's really bad. So obviously, and I thought it was good. I'm not saying that because we were talking about presidents a second ago, so I don't want to get misconstrued into this being like, oh, Trump should do the same. But I did see, like, obviously gestures from everybody everywhere. If you look at social media and any celebrity and whatever, like, they're going to raise a lot of money, which is really good. George W. Bush actually came out today and like put out, I don't remember all of the groups. It was like American Red Cross that he was donating to, and there was 2 other ones that were like that at least by name seemed to be. I haven't looked into them. I'll drop an article in the sources of this episode, but they seemed like they were like not Habitat for Humanity, but kind of similar, like rebuild after disasters and whatever. So it's nice
something
to
Jimmy
see,
Carter would be involved with.
Right. It's nice to see people that are able to help. It's nice to see the people of Texas on their own out on boats pulling people out of houses into it. But it's just insane to watch the pictures. And now what's crazy today, that at least that I heard reported on Fox Radio, so I don't know it, but what I heard was that to keep Houston from flooding, that they were going to open dams in the area, and the result of that happening would be that like the suburbs outside of Houston would flood, and a lot of the people in that area already are dealing with flooding. A lot of them don't have electricity or ways to communicate outside of their situation right now. So to have all of this water get poured into that area to save the city is kind of a crazy thought if you think about it. I mean,
it's a tough decision, but how many people are you going to save by doing it?
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think I'm not saying it's a wrong decision.
Right.
What I'm saying is I don't want to be that guy that doesn't know it's coming before it moves in. You know what I'm saying?
You obviously don't want to be that guy.
Obviously, it's just a shitty situation all the way around, and
Personally, I
really
think that if they have a chance to save the city, that would be where their obligation would have to be.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm not going to be
disagreeing with
criticizing anybody for whatever decision they make, as long as I think that personally that probably would make the most sense because that's the most populous area, but
right. So I don't know, but obviously you just hope that all works out because that sucks.
I mean, as far as the worst hurricane ever goes, the casualties have been very low. There have been 5 deaths, and I'm sure that now that the rescue and the search is starting to really get underway, you're going to get more. But
I'm sure they will.
Again, this is one of the most awe-inspiring acts of God that you could see, and that I think it's a pretty good testament that only 5 people have been lost so far. Luckily, hopefully that's not going to rise too much more, but so far I think they're doing a pretty good job of containing it and helping people out when they can.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't.
Now, I am going to try to, because I do have to look at this a little bit politically and ask a question here. So obviously there's a lot of talk about Texas keeps going a little bit more towards the blue side. Do you think this is going to maybe switch over some believers in the whole climate change thing?
No.
You don't think so?
No, simply no. Because here's why. Those same people believe science when science tells them that an eclipse that the moon is going to show up in front of the sun. But because of reasons that are not earthly, they don't. Climate change isn't there like that. I mean, and I am totally generalizing like a whole group of people,
right.
And I'm wrong.
I was
for
about
doing
to jump
that.
on it.
Like, I will be I won't even let it get that far. Like, I'll say it. I am absolutely wrong, but I think that the majority of people,
if you're talking about this section of people, there probably is more religious people,
right?
I
think if you,
it's not like if you're religious, you're anti-science, and everyone who's an atheist
right,
knows everything about science.
No, that's not what
they
I'm
don't.
saying. What I'm saying is, if you look at just the demographic that you named, the people that could possibly be that are leaning blue already, and see, here's the thing though, because by that description, if you're looking at that specific demographic where people are already leaning blue, then yes, I would say that's probably fair to say.
Not what.
But those aren't the people that are doubting climate change. So
but that's not what's happening in Texas. What's happening in Texas is that there has been a willful that has been the plan by Democrats to move in here. We're going to turn this blue by literally just moving as many Democrats as we can into this area. So I'm talking about like, it's leaning blue more and more, but not because conservatives are changing their mind. Do you think that now some conservatives might change their mind a little bit and go, whoa, like we haven't seen this before and this is going to keep happening?
My initial off the bat, no hard evidence because I can't have any, is no, because I think that there are people that acknowledge climate change, and I think that there are people that do not acknowledge climate change. And I don't know that, like, I think it's almost like predetermined to some extent with some people, with a lot of people, and at least the people that talk in the media and what we consume, like you and I specifically, when I see somebody on TV arguing against climate change and I watch his argument, I don't think that a hurricane is going to make him go, well, there it was. Because it's the same guy that's going to go, well, it's snowing in New York in December. Oh, well, yeah, it is, because that's how the weather works. But
although it was supposed to be globally warm. But
but it's
not
those
people. I think that there's a majority of people. I think that those are the extremes that I think the people that
I agree. They are the extremes.
Yeah,
and
I think that liberals
not generalize all conservatives that
exactly.
way. But I do,
or liberals.
But I do think. Right, I do think the way that we, at least the people that we consume information from, it seems like it's all or nothing on that argument, and to me, I don't understand why.
But I think when you talk to actual people, like I'm with you when it comes to how the media portrays it and all of that, But I think when you talk to actual people, there's the really diehard liberals that no, this is catastrophic climate change. We are going to die.
We are melting.
And then you do get those religious guys, at least the people at my work and whatnot that are religious, who are like, it's all a hoax and all that. Most of the people are in the middle going, yeah, it's some change, but I don't think it's catastrophic.
And then the guy in the White House is like, it's made up by China.
Get them to pay for this climate change. But, yeah, so I think it might sway a few more people that are saying, yeah, there's climate change. I don't think it's catastrophic to, oh shit, is this going to be the norm? I think it might sway a few people. I don't think that it's going to, obviously those extremes on either side are going to see death or salvation and whatever the fuck they want to. But so anyway, I just thought it was an interesting kind of
yeah, no, it's
it
definitely
goes.
An interesting.
Or if it ends up the next midterms, maybe we see some blue coming out of there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think. I don't think that people vote on climate change. I think they vote on bigger issues than
Bernie
that.
Sanders does.
I do think some people do, but the same people that voted for Bernie. The same people that were voting for Bernie. I know you peaked that.
I didn't. I backed it up. I did it all suave like.
I think that the people that were voting for Bernie Sanders weren't just voting for climate change. They were voting for free education. They were voting for higher minimum wage. They were voting for this and that and this.
They wanted to steal all the rich guys' money. That's why I voted for him.
But I think that is a bigger issue amongst at least that crowd. I mean, I don't know. Again, generalizing people. There's some Bernie Sanders voter out there that's like, I hate what Brandon just said. I'm going to go shoot a Muslim at a train station. Like, don't fucking do that.
Right.
That's fucked up.
You're a crazy person.
And here's the shitty thing too. Like, that's not a joke. Obviously, that really happened.
Right.
And so if that
they didn't shoot the Muslim person, he was yelling at the Muslims, and then he shot the other people.
But it's shitty that that is now associated with Bernie Sanders because that's a crazy douchebag.
Yeah, well, there's a couple crazy douchebags that grabbed their guns and started killing for Bernie or trying to. So
right, but it just sucks. I mean, to me, it's like the same thing as when David Duke comes out and is like, "I love Trump." Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's not Trump saying it. However, Trump. Just like Bernie did, I heard Sean Hannity or somebody saying like Bernie never was asked to come out. I was like, yes, he was within like 8 hours, and he came out and said, "No, don't kill people in my name, douchebags."
Right.
That also is not he did not kill in his name, but
right.
I don't know. Anyway, that's my side rant on that. I think it's unfair to attach those people, and I don't know how we started with hurricane, and that's where we're gonna end this bit. So
we'll
go into one last political story before we're gonna do the other in a quick round, the other three little bits, but we more focused on the pop culture end. But right now, let's go into, was it Sunday, that Donald Trump signed or rescinded the executive order that Barack Obama signed after Ferguson that stopped allowing the local police stations to take basically like military equipment.
He is rescinding restrictions from the prior administration that limited your agency's ability to get equipment through federal programs, including life-saving gear. Thank you. Life-saving gear to make your lives safer, like Kevlar vests and helmets, first responder and rescue equipment like they're using in Texas right now. Studies have shown that this equipment reduces crime rates, reduces the number of assaults against police officers, and actually reduces the number of complaints against police officers. These restrictions that had been opposed went too far. We will not put superficial concerns above public safety. We will do our best to get you what you need. The executive order that the President will sign today will ensure that you can get the life-saving gear you need to do your job and send a strong message that we will not allow criminal activity, violence, and lawlessness to become a new normal. And we will save taxpayer money in the process. There's not a dollar to waste, and we're not going to waste dollar. We're not going to allow equipment no longer needed to be sitting idle when you could be using it.
I need this tank. Jesus told me so.
You saw it in Ferguson, and I heard somebody on local St. Louis conservative radio talking about how, like, no, the media portrayed it that way. No, I was here just like you were here. And they surrounded those neighborhoods with tanks and riot gear, and there was no way that the police weren't asking for that to boil over. By the way, the police handled that.
Right.
I thought that one of the
police...
there were a lot of shitty things that came out of Ferguson, but two good things, at least I thought at the time, that came out of Ferguson was this executive order that seemingly demilitarized, or at least that's how we talked about it at the time, demilitarized police stations. I thought that was a good thing that came out of it. And body cams that they seemed like a good idea to turn off. At the time. We didn't know that they just turned them off.
Right.
You know, so
apparently that's not against the rules. So
yeah. So I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
So what do you think about this move by Donald Trump?
This is exactly what conservatives are afraid of. This is the one thing. This is the only thing that conservatives unite around. We don't trust big government. We don't want the police to be militarized. We don't want the government to be able to come into your homes and to do all these things. This is why we build up the Constitution so much, the way we talk about our rights. We don't like this. So am I super pissed off at Donald Trump for doing it? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And there's no way to look at it. There's no reason that my local police department needs fucking rocket launchers.
No.
You don't need those things.
No.
Sorry, buddy. Like, if I start seeing Apache helicopters flying by, I'm going to be like, what the shit? Like,
here's the thought, too, and, like, this is going to seem really, really insensitive. And I know that, like, it doesn't matter because people that are listening, that have been listening anyway, that are super, super Blue Lives Matter people,
hate you.
Probably aren't. Yeah, I don't know if they just hate me. They probably aren't listening.
I'm straight up lovable, son.
The Blue Lives Matter people, but
fuck Donald Trump.
We watched what those tanks did in St. Louis, and like there's always this excuse. Well, we need it because what if these people have what if we have a scenario where two guys with a bunch of AK-47s walk into a place? We're going to need a tank to stand behind. No, you went into this job knowing that you could get shot at. Now roll in 50 deep and take them out. Like, I'm sorry, that's super insensitive, but I don't need a tank on the street of St. Louis, Missouri. I don't need a tank on the street of Ferguson or St. Charles or St. Peter's.
Right. I mean, apparently their big thing is just let them fight it out anyway. They don't seem to be willing to protect us anyway. So what the fuck?
We just saw that video from which I again don't like shitty news sources, which I will admit the Huffington Post is, but you have a video of a guy at Charlottesville shooting into the crowd with police standing right there, not doing anything.
Yeah,
what?
I still haven't looked into that one enough. I just. God, I find that hard to believe. That
I do too, but I mean,
I just
video's hard to argue with.
Yeah, but where was that video?
So, like,
I mean,
maybe,
no one else brought it up like for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Seems
right.
really weird, man.
It does. I mean, I'll put the link in the.
I'm not saying that it can't happen. Honestly, that nothing else seems more likely to have happened.
Right.
So I totally get, like, if it's real, then fuck it. Duh. Shit. I should have seen that coming.
I'll put the link.
But it's just weird that no one was talking about it.
I'll put the HuffPost link in the sources, and the audience should go and check it out for themselves. and do a little bit of investigating on your own and see what you find out. And if you find out something that you think is smarter than what we just rambled through, let us know.
You can comment.
You can, let us know, and then we'll call you a loser next episode. So it's all cool. But I think we both agree on this. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea.
This is big government. This exactly, and I don't know if. Well, I guess we might save that for the next segment. You know what I'm trying to get to? I'm trying to get to the walking into people's houses and the no search warrant thing. Right. I think they go hand in hand. I mean, to me, this is big government. So,
yeah. What was that? That was. We'll just loosely say what that is, and then we'll look into that, and we'll go into that for the next episode.
Yeah, because this is something that I definitely wanted to touch on, but this is something that also just came out. So quietly, pretty much all of Congress passed a bill for Maryland, Virginia, and D.C., I believe. I know it's Maryland and D.C. I believe the other one was Virginia, where they can basically come into your house without a search warrant. I haven't heard the reasoning behind this. I know that it goes completely against the Constitution.
Yeah.
But that only 4 legislators stood against it.
Yeah,
and that Donald Trump signed it.
That's unbelievable to me. So we need to, before we get into that, because I feel like that's something that's segment worthy. Like, I feel like that's big enough to go into.
What is
like,
what does it mean? It's just like we see what looks to be Donald Trump militarizing the police departments,
right?
And then while simultaneously stripping away rights. What does that mean? What is he preparing for?
You can't pick. You can't pick and choose.
Do they think that some sort of civil war is actually going to break out or something? Like, what are they trying to quell?
Yeah,
I don't know. All that again.
That's like some Alex
I'm
Jones
the conservative
shit right there.
It is, but this is fucked up. Like, this is the timing is really weird that they both happen at damn near the exact same time. There are a lot of tensions that are rising with people in the streets fighting and damn near killing each other, now actually killing each other.
Right.
You know? It's just a fucking crazy time. The world's gone mad. Everything's racist. I don't fucking understand it.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, this is what, as a conservative and a Republican, this is the one thing that we don't want to see. This is rights being taken away. This is big government getting bigger and getting scarier and getting meaner.
Right.
So.
No, I agree with you. So we'll definitely do that segment at a later date and go more into detail with that because that's
right.
Now that we've gotten the politics out of the way, we're going to do something that we haven't done before. We've always thought about doing it, but we figured you don't give a shit what we think about shit anyway. So, but we're gonna go ahead and step away from politics for this last little bit. I'm actually gonna. Mitch doesn't know this because we're doing this in real time right now. I'm gonna scratch Batman for this week. Woo! Pop culture, a little secret. Yeah, we'll do Batman at another time for time reasons, time purposes. But
Bat's sad now.
But we will go into your dumb segment that I don't want to do, and yes. So we'll start.
No, we had Floyd. We gotta go with the boxing match.
This is the biggest fight ever in combat sports history, in any sport.
How can a fighter who has zero experience in boxing go up against the very best and pretend that maybe he can win? It's almost unheard of.
Mayweather is a way better boxer. There's just no doubt about it. He's one of the greatest boxers, if not the greatest boxer that's ever lived.
I know every single shot he's been hit with. I know every single shot he's been hurt with.
Never compare Conor McGregor to me. That's a total disrespect.
I'm the boxing guy. Watch me take over boxing. Trust me on that. Ferguson, not knowing in this boxing game, knows what's coming. Roger said most people don't know shit about boxing. Well, Conor McGregor says most people don't know shit about fighting.
I think probably the biggest story of the week last week was the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather money fight, which is like super lame to call it that. Like, don't
I think we were both on Conor McGregor's side.
I know. Yeah. We were.
Even though he was acting like such a fool.
Yo,
So,
he was
yeah.
acting awesome, and that's what I love.
No, he wasn't.
That's why
I was like, what a chode bucket.
I love Conor McGregor for that. Conor McGregor, if you put him on ice skates, he would fit in to any team in the NHL. Like, that dude is the greatest smack talker of all time. And Floyd Mayweather is horrible at smack talk. Like,
I know.
Conor was roasting him like Tupac. It was ridiculous. So that fight obviously happened Saturday night, which everybody listening already knows because they watched it at the same time we did.
Right.
But, I mean,
pretty much everyone saw this, and if you didn't see it in actual with your person, you heard about it. Everyone has social media.
so
you know the outcome.
So what did you think about the match itself?
I was digging it hardcore, man. Like I was ready, and then so they came out, and at first I was a little bit disappointed with Mayweather because he was just kind of, I think he was being a bit of a bitch. He just kept putting his arms up and just kept walking into him. And McGregor, for his part, like he was landing a bunch of jabs, he was landing a bunch of hits, but this isn't his sport.
Right.
So he's got all these tendencies that linger from UHF or not UHF. I think of that movie, UFC. And MMA and all that, where he wants to do the fucking what do you call it, jackhammers or whatever they called those,
right?
The hammer fist,
trying to grapple a few times,
trying to grapple, and then but those are mistakes, those are, and then he would pretty much correct himself, like whenever the ref was saying stop, he'd be like, oh fuck, all right, shit, I fucked up. Mayweather was just kind of like turning away so that he would get hit in the back.
Right. Let me turn my back to you real quick. Now, let me say something here. First of all, you know way more about like these types of contact sports than I do.
I really don't watch them, so I don't know how much more I know than you.
You used to, though. I mean, you at least know the rules.
No.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. We're on the same page then. I know.
I'm not opposed to watching fights. I just don't get into it. Like I need to watch every fight. I know all the fighters. Like
I know 0% about boxing, but what I do know is that you can't get hit in the back. So when I'm watching Floyd turn his back to Conor the whole time, and I'm like, he doesn't even box in this sport. So if you do win on some bullshit like decision,
right,
and it's because he got points taken off because you're turning around. And here's my favorite thing. Like everybody, Floyd is #money team, right? Like he's money team.
Money.
And the money involved with this was amazing. The match was great. I thought Conor 10 rounds for a dude who doesn't even box. Kudos to you, kid. Like I love Conor McGregor's attitude. I love everything about him. I think that he is hilarious. And that's what drew me to this in the first place. And then when everybody's calling Mayweather the $1 billion fighter, like, yeah, he made $1 billion, but he also spent $1 billion. He came out of retirement to not be broke anymore, made $300 million, and he's broke still. Like Floyd Mayweather is not the money team; he's the I owe money team. So. I don't know, but it was. I thought it was great, and the outcome.
I wish it would have gone down different. I feel like Conor McGregor came to fight. Like he came to really try to fight, and I think that
Floyd came to make money.
Yeah, well, he knew what to do. He knew to just tire him out. So
right,
saying like, oh, he lasted 10 rounds with it. But again, McGregor wasn't getting hit. Like Mayweather was just putting his arms up and walking into him.
Right.
And so like he didn't really get a lot of damage. Yeah, well then he was gassed, and so now each punch is going to be worth tenfold, and now I'm going to fucking smoke him.
Mm-hmm. And he did, man. When he came out, he came out swinging like crazy.
Yeah, those are the fights I liked this fight just because I felt like one person was in it. But when I would try, that's why I don't like watching UFC and all these other things, because now there's so many rules where they do by decision. And if I'm going to watch a fight, I want to see a brawl. I want to see two guys just beating the living fuck out of each other till one falls the fuck down and doesn't get back up.
Yeah, but you're not going to get that with boxing anyway. I mean,
man, the old Rocky,
that would be like saying the same thing and being like, now go take this pigskin and get out there and do your thing. Like, no, you're not going to murder each other. It's football.
If anybody hasn't watched old Mike Tyson do it, because that's exactly what you see.
Okay.
like and they're fun as fuck to watch. Like dude's just quick and he rocks them. Like, I don't like the long drawn out where, we just test each other. I'm gonna stick my hand in your face. And McGregor was doing that. Like he was trying to play the game too, because he had the longer reach.
Right.
So he was keeping Floyd back, and then jabbing him as he could. But Conor McGregor really needed to come out and just go for the KO. And I never once really did I see him really go for gold. Like, I can't, even if he whiffed it, I don't really remember one where he really looked like he had put all of his strength behind a punch, and he probably should have.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I think though, for the spectacle that it was,
I was entertained
with it was way more entertaining than I thought it would be, because I thought either McGregor's going to come out and he's gonna knock him out, because it's the only way he's gonna win this. He's gonna knock him out early on in like the first 4 or 5 rounds, or there's no way Mayweather doesn't win a match that lasts past that time, because at this point, McGregor, who's an MMA fighter who comes out and chokes somebody out in 28 seconds and that's the match, is not gonna last for 25 minutes. Like, it's just not. So it was predictable, the outcome was, but the experience itself, watching it and seeing the whole thing, I think it did a lot of good things for boxing, because I haven't watched a boxing match in my adult life, and it was way more fun and way better than I expected it to be. So I think that the whole thing was good. And now let's see Floyd get in the octagon, see what happens. So
Brock Lesnar comes out with the flying knee. Oh!
Right. This isn't WWE. I said octagon. Like, keep your Brock Lesnar in his right video game. So
he was in UFC for a little bit.
Right. No, I know he was. He 2 or 3 times. He's been everywhere. So I actually was just reading about Brock Lesnar the other day and didn't realize that, like, he's been in all kinds of wrestling promotions too. He's in, like, New Japan Wrestling and, like, a bunch of, like, the guy's been all over the place. NFL, right? Wasn't he in the NFL too?
Or I don't know. I think he's too big.
I feel like he was. Maybe I'm wrong.
He'd be a lineman maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stand in that fucking spot and don't move.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, anyway, that's that. I think now we will warn the audience that the next bit we're going to talk about is completely Mitch's fault. I was totally anti-doing it. So, spoiler alerts ahead on the recently 24 hours ago ended season of Game of Thrones.
Spoiler alert, if you have not watched it, go watch it and then come back for this awesome assessment.
Right, this is literally the time to pause or stop this podcast and not have Game of Thrones ruined for you. I'm going to keep bullshitting this sentence for about 30 more seconds so that you know now is the time to turn off this podcast or pause this podcast. Go watch all of Season 7, or if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, you probably are pissed off that we're going to end the show this way, but F you, you're like 8 years behind the boat here, so
get with the fucking times.
Right, so now I'm going to let Mitch start this off, and we're going to ruin Game of Thrones for you. So turn your shit off, but then come back for the alternative fact. So just be here for that. So anyway, go ahead.
All right, here we go. So
I hate it.
Obviously, no, I didn't hate it. So this season was a bit different than the previous seasons. You have, again, maybe you don't watch Game of Thrones, maybe you do, but this season is the second to last season before the whole series wraps up. And it was shot differently as well. Instead of 10 episodes at about an hour long, it was only 7 episodes, a couple of them going a little bit over an hour, but most of them were staying at about an hour. This last season finale was about 90 minutes long. And I just want to touch on a few things on the season as a whole, because I want to say that for the first 4 episodes, it was on point. Like, me and you have talked about, they had the problem with the fast travel, where it just seemed like the
thing,
timelines no longer made sense.
The argument, though, that I've heard is that, like, they don't actually give you a timeline. So, you know.
That's what I kind of hate. Like, I wish that they would just put one dialogue of, like, man, I can't believe I went 3 weeks on that boat and didn't throw up, or something like that.
Right,
like,
because you have no idea. Did this happen? And this scene was like 2 hours later, or was it 2 weeks later, or like how did they get
he's
there?
He's in
so
Dragonstone
quick?
now. Now he's in Winterfell. Now they're sitting outside Casterly Rock, which is on the other fucking side of the continent.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, and I've seen interviews with the director and with the showrunners, and they were like, "We're fudging the timelines. Like we're not concerned with them." And I think that helped and hindered. I think that the first 4 episodes are a great example of I don't give a shit that the timelines are weird because everything that I want to see is happening. I was kind of let down with the last 3 episodes of the season. The
only thing that let me down about the way that there were 2. I have 2 critiques of the last episode. But like I expected somebody bigger to die, honestly.
That's what I'm worried about. And like that's why those 4 episodes at the beginning were so good, is because everyone was dying. And I didn't expect it. Like Tyrion comes out with the plan and you're like, dude, Tyrion's the man. This is going to be dope. And everything he does is wrong. And as an audience, we underestimated Cersei. We came into it going, she's dead. Like, there's no way she lives past like episode 2. Fucking dragons.
Right.
And then you see Tyrion holding her back, and then what's her name? Lady Olenna dies. I didn't see that coming. The Sand Snakes die. Yara gets captured. All these things that were like, and then at the same time, the plot was moving forward.
Yeah.
And especially that fourth episode was incredible because you got the Sansa Arya reunion.
Yeah. I mean, it was. What else did they do in those first 4 episodes? They did the opening.
A lot of shit.
The way that the season started was amazing. Like that was like the coolest scene. Who, I can't remember.
Arya
his name.
killing Walder Frey.
Yes. Oh my God. What an intense scene. And like the whole way they built it up. Now I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, but I want for anybody that's listening, Mitch has read the books. I have not yet. So
you are endeavoring to read the book.
I am, but I think that so you have to realize that we're going to come from this from different perspectives. You know the whole canon. You know the story up until where it stops. I know only what HBO has told me.
Right, and really they're not comparable in those sense because. It's just like what George R. R. Martin says. He goes, I'm not even really watching the show because there's like 20 characters that are dead that are very much alive for me.
Right.
And like,
but
he's the one who created those characters.
Here's the critique to that. Write the fucking story, dude. Not everybody has 30 years to just wait around for another season of the show. So finish your damn story.
He's actually writing on par. Like, if you look at how many words there are to this story, it is so much longer than The Lord of the Rings, which took Tolkien like 30 years to write.
Yeah.
Like, he's really doing good. The problem is that Feast for Crows, you'll get to it. That book was just pretty much everything that would just drags on is basically what it was. That whole book is like Brienne looking for Sansa and not finding her. And you're like, what the fuck?
Right.
And then Samwell Tarly on a boat, and it's like, get to the Citadel, and he just doesn't do it. And you're like, what the fuck? So I've had arguments. A buddy of mine, Dustin, who's also read the books. We actually read the books at the same time over the span of about a year and a half. And sometimes I was ahead of him. Sometimes he was ahead of me. But we took that very differently. He loved Feast for Crows. I did not like Feast for Crows. So obviously you're going to be able to make up your own mind when you get there. But I think that there was a way to do it. And those first 4 episodes with the travel, with the story exposition, all right, we need a new ally. Here's the Greyjoys. Okay, cool. Well, now that brings up all of this shit. And it all gelled. It was working.
Right.
And then obviously it culminates with the loot train battle where you see Daenerys ride in with Drogon and just waste shit. So awesome.
She wasted shit a few times in the season. And I
Right.
love what they're doing with Daenerys now, where like the audience, like you see these characteristics of her dad, the Mad King, and you like there are times where you wonder like, is she going? Because she's always been the good character. She's always been the one you've rooted for from the beginning.
Well,
and
I mean, even in the earlier seasons, she does some fucked up shit. Like when they show, like as she's getting to Marine.
But she doesn't burn father and son together without pleading their case. Like she,
Oh, she does. There's a scene earlier this is in the show, not in the books, where she gets, I think like whenever the Sons of the Harpy are attacking her in Marine, and she just takes a bunch of firstborn sons from all of the higher families, like the nobles, and she just feeds them to her dragons. Like,
yeah, that's fucked.
I remember there's like one or two that get eaten, and she's like, every day I'm just gonna feed another one of you to them until these fucking murders stop. Like, she does some fucked up shit,
right?
And then she does other things where she kills the masters and crucifies them.
Yeah, that is true. She is, because I remember a few seasons ago saying that, these are traces of her dad and her, like, these are characteristics of the Mad King. And then like as everything in Game of Thrones does, it's like there's like this ebb and flow the whole way through the show where nothing is 100% evil and nothing is 100% good, because it just isn't. You start out hating Jaime Lannister, and I'll be damned if you're not rooting for that son of a bitch now. So
because he's layered, and he's got.
And they
just
all
needs to
are.
stay away from
like,
Cersei.
Really, they all are. Even Cersei has layers. They're all fucked up.
I love Cersei.
But
I think Cersei's fucking cool as shit.
I know, but you also love somebody else who's not going to sit on the Iron Throne. Is he?
I don't know. We'll see.
Littlefinger?
But, yeah.
I have a feeling he won't be.
Littlefinger, yeah. Spoiler alert, Littlefinger's fucking, he eats it.
I did that one too. I didn't even want to do this fucking segment.
So then going into the last 3 episodes, this is where I think it started to fall apart. And it's not catastrophic. It wasn't, I was a little bit let down. But right off the bat, they kind of talk about Eastwatch. And the episode is called Eastwatch.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that that's where it's going to go. And it's basically an exposition episode. And when I think back to it, I can't really think of anything that really happened. The Gendry thing happened. That was cool. They found Gendry.
The exhibition was where the Night King, they went out to get the White Walker and bring him back to Cersei to prove to Cersei that, they were.
But that's what we thought we were getting in that episode, and we didn't get it. That was the next episode, Beyond the Wall, the second to last. And that was the one that just... Yeah, that one just didn't make any sense. There was just so many things that just didn't make any sense. I mean, now, the thing that we don't know what the fuck the Night King wants to do. He has to have some motivation. The only way that I'm buying any of this, because, like, for people who haven't seen the episode, they basically go beyond the wall. They find some walkers. There's one guy, Gendry, who literally has said, I've never been to the north. How do you guys even do anything here? He's clearly not acclimated to the weather. They get surrounded, and he's like, go, you're the fastest. It's like, what are you talking about? Send Tormund. He's the fucking northerner.
Right.
In reality, he would have ran for like 3 miles and then just fallen down and been like, I'm dead.
Right.
Like,
yeah, but come on.
make...
Like, you're saying in reality, in a world with dragons and zombie skeletons. So
right, but what made it so good is that it was believable. Like, these characters aren't good and evil. They have these dualities to them, and they've got things that you see yourself in them.
Right.
And I think that they went for we just need a lot of zombies, and we just need to do that. And so they made this whole set piece where there's
I always have a problem in any movie, not just Game of Thrones, where a character gets surrounded by whatever zombies for argument's sake, and then like somehow they're in the next 2 scenes later, and you're like, wait a minute, dude. If you were surrounded by that many of anything, lions, tigers, bears, zombies, whatever, if you're surrounded by that many of anything, it's gonna be like, you're gonna have to convince me that you did more than just run. Like,
right, exactly. And they don't even do that. They just sit there and they're like, all right, so now that we've been trekking back here, let's send the guy who's least acclimated to the climate. You run back to the wall.
It did feel like it. Right. It did feel like it. I know that it was like kind of day out, and then it was night when he got back, but it did feel like the whole thing took like 30 minutes.
Yeah, and especially with the distances that they're going. Dragonstone is by King's Landing. King's Landing is in the south. You are beyond the wall. You have to get a guy on foot to the wall, then descend a raven, and then she has to get on her dragon and somehow not freeze to death at these altitudes.
All right, I think now you're nerding out a little bit too much.
I'm just saying, like, it didn't make sense. And then, meanwhile, the Night King's staring
like,
at them, holding spears.
There is something to be said about the fact that it's fantasy, and somebody who can ride a dragon into snow and melt that shit. Like,
right.
You know?
That's fine. I'm just saying, like, it just needs to make it. It needs to be a little bit more believable. And I think that
you're being a little bit hard. You're like, no, look, Spider-Man's webs come from inside his arm, not a little pack on the outside of his arm. This is bullshit. Like, no, dude, bullshit. It's cool. He's Spider-Man either way. So
I wasn't digging it. And then the whole thing happened where the Night King's staring at them. He's got spears, but I guess they just decided not to kill him. The only way that I'm going to buy that is if he was planning on dragons to come. Somehow he's got like brand powers or something, and he can tell.
That's the theory, is that he does have like brand powers. The theory,
I don't believe the theory.
Have you read all the clues that were left throughout the seasons as to?
I haven't. So I'm
okay.
I'm not as versed in it.
Send you an article, and I will post an article in the sources here. But I just read something a little while ago that was basically like, look, there's clues starting from season 1. And like it names all of the episodes and all of the scenarios where like this was said to Sam by the Maester, and the Maester they were referring to taught this person, and it like ties in with the witch that allowed Khaleesi, Daenerys, to have the dragons in the first place, and like
Maz something.
Yeah, like it basically makes, there's a theory that basically points to like the Night King also being like Bran, and it talks about how after dragons die, the magic is slowly leaving Westeros, and the wall is forged with like, you know. So I don't know. It makes it seem like he has dark power. Well, he clearly has dark powers, but
now in the book I know it's different, because I know that there's a whole segment about the Night's King, where that was one of the guard towers, and he was a commander of the Night's Watch, and fell in love with one of the White Walkers that was a female, and took over, killed a bunch of people, and reigned for 13 years or something as the Night's King. I don't think they're going that way with the Night King. We already saw in the show the Children of the Forest create the Night King, and it clearly was a dude who could walk, and it clearly didn't look like Bran. So I just don't think that, since we've already seen that
I don't
scene,
know
that they would just...
What I read wasn't that he was Bran, because I've seen that theory going around too, but I just saw that he was basically a really powerful maester or whatever. So I don't know.
That would make more sense. Yeah, I know that they're saying that if he is anyone, because it was a guy from the Night's Watch,
right?
They took, and originally the Children of the Forest created the White Walkers to fight men, and then they were like, "Oh fuck, we fucked up,"
right?
and then they band together and fought him. So again, we're gonna see. That's the only way that I'm gonna buy it, because at any point he could have. Apparently, he's javelin thrower extraordinaire who can toss a javelin 100,000 meters in the air with no problem.
Right.
So he could have taken all of them out at any moment. So I'm hoping that that's the reason why he didn't, was because he knew dragons were coming.
I feel
even
like
still, there's no reason why he shouldn't have got Drogon. Drogon was clearly closer and had everyone on it. Like,
right.
Take him out.
Yeah.
No, you go for Viserion flying in the air. So that part, again, didn't kind of make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
anyway,
I gotta get to the ending though, because obviously the final episode is
right
where it's at and where it's going from here.
We're gonna try to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes though, and not ruin the whole Game of Thrones experience for all of our listeners.
Right. So what was your final assessment of that episode though? Did you see the thing coming with Baelish?
No, I didn't actually. And I mean, I guess I probably should have, but I didn't. And I was, here's my thing with Baelish. It's like I've always loved the character because he's so like
I know
he plays the game so well, except he doesn't obviously anymore. But so it was like I was disappointed that Baelish went, but at the same time it was the kind of disappointed where it was like, meh. He played the game and the game won.
Yeah.
So
it's like I was a really big fan of Ramsey Bolton, like to the point where I was rooting for Ramsey Bolton over Jon Snow in the North.
That's fucked up.
And so like when Ramsey died, I was like, God damn it, no. But at the same time, I like Jon, so I was like, all right, it's fine. Kind of like that thing whenever that 4th episode where Jaime's charging after Daenerys. I'm like, fuck. Like, clearly I want Jaime to win if it's going to come down to that, but I really don't want Daenerys to die either. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Seeing Baelish die really sucked. Like, I had a theory going on from the beginning that he was the one who was going to sit the Iron Throne. Now, there is a theory going around that he is actually the reason for Robert's Rebellion and why it even started. The theory goes that basically whenever Lyanna and Rhaegar got married, they sent a note back from Maester, whatever his name was, that kept all the records, saying, hey, I've gotten my marriage annulled to, what's her name? Elia Martell. I've married your sister, addressed to Brandon Stark, who just fucking owned Littlefinger, and Littlefinger was pissed off about. And so the theory goes he hid the message just trying to be a dick and then ended up starting the whole war. I was really hoping they were going to bring that up when they were accusing him of everything. I was really hoping that Bran would have like brought that up and been like, and you were the reason for it, and then just had everyone be like, kill this fucker.
Right.
They didn't do that, so I was kind of like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to stay in the books. I don't know if it isn't. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, I didn't see that coming. I think that I'm glad that they finally confirmed that L plus R equals J or A, or E or whatever. And I think so. I'm glad that they finally like went far enough that Bran said it. Like, this is who he is.
Yeah.
Like, that's good. Now it's confirmed. Now it's out there. Like, I thought that was better than the flashback that they did last season. I was disappointed in that flashback because I didn't think it went far enough. But obviously, like, they had to.
I love that Tower of Joy scene.
They have yet to reveal it to the characters themselves, and so that so that was good. My one little tiny critique is like a ice dragon should be blowing ice, not fire. You shouldn't be melting the wall. And what the hell?
Like white fire, like the hottest fire too.
Right.
Like, that was fucking insane.
Yeah, but I
think that's awesome. Like I can't fucking wait, man. Like that was cool. I did want to see an ice dragon. Like I wanted to see him fucking like attack Tormund and he comes out Sub-Zero like, oh, I'm fucking frozen.
Right.
Like,
although that would make
shatter.
But that would make the end game too easy. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess not any easier than having dragon's fire, like going down. That's kind of a game changer. So
it's just kind of it blows my mind because in the books there is the Horn of Joramont or whatever it's called, which is this magical horn that's said to, if you blow it, you take down the wall. And Mance claims that he has it, but he never uses it, and he has a reason for not using it because he's trying to get away from the White Walkers. He wants to hide behind the wall. He doesn't want to take it down.
Right.
A long time ago in the show, whenever there's an episode where Grin, I think it's Grin, and Sam and someone else are walking around and they find the dragon glass. Like they find it buried under the snow, and buried with the dragon glass is a horn. And then they just never bring it up again. And then I was like, well, surely the Night King's going to have this horn to fucking take this thing down. And no, he just takes a dragon and just owns it. I was like, all right, I guess you can do it that way too.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I have no fucking clue what's going to happen for this next season.
It's going to be interesting to see him wrap it up in 6 episodes. I know the episodes are supposed to be longer next season.
They're supposed to be feature length, so like 90 minutes plus for each episode.
So that's good. So we'll actually, if that's true, then we'll get 12 hours, which is more than the 10.
It'd be like Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Yeah, it can be done.
So I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed in that at all. I thought overall it was a good season. I'm glad to
8 out of 10.
Yeah, but I still think that I personally liked it better than last season. So
Yeah, I thought that the last season really ended much more strongly. Like, this episode, to me, this last episode really didn't feel like a season finale. Like, I kept waiting for more shit to happen, and then it didn't.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it just, like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have the same... I get what you mean. To me, it did feel like I could see, like, obviously, okay, this is where they're leaving us. But the cliffhanger this time wasn't as, like, oh, fuck, I have to wait 1.5 years for this? Like, it, like, because, you
it's
know.
just like, all right, cool.
But I don't know.
They got past the wall.
I don't know that it's fair to expect anything different. Like, we're at the end of the story now. We kind of knew where the story was going. So now we're there, and we're just kind of cleaning up the details. So,
yeah,
you know, we'll see. I still love it. Like, last season I wasn't I didn't hate it by any stretch. Like, I still liked it. It wasn't my favorite season, and this season felt so much more like rejuvenating. Like, I've gone head first back into Game of Thrones, and so I like that.
You're lucky because you got the books still, so like now you can go right into the books,
right?
And you're even extra lucky because probably by the time you finish those books, The Winds of Winter will actually come out. Like, as soon as I finished Dance with Dragons, and I was just like, what the fuck do I do? Like, I need the next bit. Like, it ends so strong, and I can't wait for Winds of Winter.
Right.
So yeah, dude,
I hear you.
It's gonna be cool.
So
I guess that's
there you go. That's TDAP, Spoiling Game of Thrones season 7, right? So
that's right.
I think that's a good place to end it, though, for the week. They actually I think we got a lot more out of this little speed round. Or who does that speed round? Who says that anymore? I think we got more than we expected out of this one, so that's good. Anyway,
right.
We'll save Batman for another time, but I do have shit to say about that, Martin Scorsese. Yeah. So that's remember to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at TDAP 2017. The links to the show, the links to the sources are in the comments of the show. YouTube, are we doing anything there? Not yet. No, we'll stop talking about YouTube for right now.
Yeah. We'll figure that out during the break.
We are, and that was the other thing. I'm glad I was stalling, and I'm glad you said it. So we're taking a break next week, and we might do like a Facebook Live update, like a little quick one here or there. But we're gonna take a break. We've got a few things that we wanna work on with the podcast. As I said at the beginning of the show, as well as music and some other stuff. So, yeah, I think that's good, and we'll plan on being back here next week. Or not? What the fuck did I just say?
What the shit, dude?
We'll be back in 2 weeks, and as you know, the episodes are available on iTunes and Google Play. Normally on Tuesdays, this week on Wednesdays. That's enough rambling at the end of this episode. Here it is, your alternative fact of the week. Thanks.
Life is so fucking good. How do I look? What the fuck is he wearing? He looks like a little breakdancer or something, a little 12-year-old breakdancer, bitch. What the fuck? He's 40. You're 40 years of age. Dress your fucking age. He's in a fucking tracksuit. He can't even afford a suit anymore. The roses are 2012 outside. He is fucked.